A lot of people would accuse Dyson of building iterations of the same vacuum since they launched the DC44 cordless stick vacuum way back in the glory days of 2011. Now, granted, they have a good reason for sticking to the same general recipe. Questionable durability aside, the recipe works and sells. The models that followed, like the DC59, V6, V7, V8, V15, and current Gen 5 Detect, have expanded on that general template with more powerful motors, higher capacity batteries, and features like automatic power adjustment and dirt sensors. The Dyson Digital Slim follows a slightly different path. It's the smallest, lightest model in the manufacturer's current lineup, having been released to the Asian market in 2020 for use in smaller living spaces. It was only brought over to the North American market last year, to unusually little fanfare from a big brand like Dyson. So, is it fashionably late to the party, or a damp squib of a guest that shouldn't have been invited to begin with? I'm Evan with RTINGS.com, here to answer all that and more. Things don't get off to a great start. The Digital Slim isn't a particularly robust feeling appliance, but it isn't that much worse than most other Dysons in that regard. Outside of its aluminum wand, its body is made from thin plastic with a glossy, slippery finish. There's a little bit of flex while using the vacuum, especially between the floorhead and wand. That's a bit of a concern, but on the upside, the vacuum doesn't audibly creak while in use, so there's no Dyson standard symphony of plastic creaking going on. This is ultimately a pretty simple vacuum. You can crack open the dustbin with a single latch, but be careful to avoid the big cloud of dust that'll ensue. The filter can be rinsed underwater and has pretty widely spaced pleats that make it easy to clear out any stuck-on debris. The brush roll can be pulled out of its floorhead pretty quickly too, and it features a set of built-in vanes that collect pet hair to keep it from jamming its rotation. Buckle in, kids. This is the Digital Slim's Achilles heel. This dirt compartment is really only big enough to hold half a chihuahua's worth of shed fur, or maybe the sand from a pocket-sized hourglass. Okay. In real numbers, the dustbin is only about 0.16 liters in size, which is just under half the size of the already pretty small Dyson V8. That means you need to make pretty frequent use of that quick release mechanism. Portability, then, is the main reason for buying the Digital Slim. This is one of the lightest models that Dyson has ever produced, weighing in at a whisker over 4.5 pounds in its full stick vacuum configuration. As a result, carrying it around and maneuvering around obstacles is easy. That said, the fixed length wand gives you very limited back and forth sweeping range and can force you to hunch over if you're on the taller side, which is obviously uncomfortable during longer cleaning sessions, which can actually go on for longer than you might think. Its battery life is actually pretty solid. Used as a normal stick vacuum in its medium power mode, you can expect somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 35 minutes of use. Now, that's hardly spectacular in the grand scheme of things, but it's certainly enough for quick pickups. It also recharges from empty to peak capacity in about 3 hours, which isn't unacceptable for a cordless stick vacuum. The battery is removable and replaceable too, so you can swap out the pack if you start to notice that its performance is degrading. This vacuum is a little more stripped down than some other higher-end Dyson vacuums. There's a trio power modes, but no automatic power adjustment feature. Translation, unlike the Gen 5 Detect or V12, you can't just use the vacuum on any surface and expect it to adjust its suction power setting itself. There is, however, an LCD screen at the back of the vacuum's motor unit. This gives you the rundown on remaining battery life and the current suction power setting. This vacuum also shares the same general filtration setup as a lot of other Dyson models. It's advertised as having whole machine filtration that locks in about 99.99% of particles as small as 0.3 microns in size. Now, we can't go ahead and verify those claims completely, but we will say that it does a pretty solid job of trapping smaller particles, and you won't be choking on its exhaust. Compared to the horde of attachments you can usually find bundled with other Dysons, the Digital Slim is a little stingy. There's only a crevice tool for cleaning little tight corners, and a combo upholstery nozzle / dusting brush for cleaning couches and delicate surfaces. The Digital Slim's motive force comes courtesy of a 100 air-watt suction motor. There hasn't been a full-size Dyson model that weak since the V7, released way back in 2017. That's hardly the recipe for big dog performance. The Digital Slim can have a hard time with large amounts of heavy debris. If that isn't what you'd expect or use it for, however, you're in for an alright time. Its floorhead is a little low to the ground, which can cause it to snowplow some bigger material, though on the upside, it does quite well with finer debris. Still, expect to have to make another sweep or two to deal with messes in corners or along walls. Dyson floorheads have traditionally provided a good level of surface agitation on carpets, and thankfully, the Digital Slim isn't any different from its stablemates here. While it's far from a suction powerhouse, the relatively stiff set of secondary bristles can dig into carpet fibers and dislodge lighter stuck-in debris, as well as pet hair. The Digital Slim's main competition comes from within. The Dyson V7 is probably the closest analog in terms of price. It's a far older design with Dyson's old school vertical dustbin that does hold a lot more debris than the Digital Slim. In all honesty, that alone makes it a more viable option for whole home cleaning compared to the newer Digital Slim, even if it is most of a pound heavier. However, you'll pay for this with a shorter battery life. The V7's debris pickup performance also isn't anything special. If you're willing to go a little higher in price, the Dyson V8 is a very solid option that rectifies most of the serious issues with the V7. It still takes longer to recharge than the Digital Slim, but it at least provides similar runtime overall. It packs in a stronger motor, resulting in improved debris pickup on hard floors and carpeting. Lastly, if you're willing to blow the budget, but without giving up lightweight handling and a dense feature set, the Dyson V12 Detect Slim is your huckleberry. At a little over 5.2 pounds, it isn't that much heavier than the Digital Slim, but packs in a motor with nearly 50% more power, a suite of debris and surface detection sensors, and a faster charging, higher capacity battery. Unfortunately, it shares the same dismal debris capacity as the Digital Slim, meaning that you'll need to empty its dustbin very often. There is a price to pay for convenience, or in this case, portability. In its efforts to strip every unnecessary gram from the Digital Slim, Dyson's engineers have built a vacuum with compromises in all the wrong places. It isn't actually that much lighter than older Dyson vacuums, but with noticeably inferior performance and a hand vacuum-sized dustbin that you'll need to empty at the end of every single cleaning job. It's great for small spaces, but in all honesty, you could get something better suited for whole home cleaning at a cheaper price point. Besides, its small size can make it uncomfortable to use, even for people who aren't above average in height. So that's it for a review of the Dyson Digital Slim. If you're interested in more detailed performance data, you can check out the full review for this vacuum on our website. Until next time, I'm Evan from RTINGS.com, where we help you find the best product for your needs.